We've been monitoring a speech from the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, giving his first public response to 2 days of attacks in Lebanon using sabotage communication devices. The number of people killed has now risen to 37, with over 3,000 people wounded. In a moment or two, I'll talk once again to our security correspondent Frank Gardner, but let me tell you a little more about what Hezbollah's leader has been saying, because he accused Israel of being behind that operation over the last couple of days, which he said crossed all red lines.
Thousands of pages were targeted by the Israeli enemy and detonated at the same time. With this operation, the enemy crossed all rules, laws and red lines. It didn't care about anything at all, not morally, not humanely, not legally.
Well, that is still going on. We are monitoring that all the time with our teams inside the newsroom. But Frank Gardner, our security correspondent, has been with me through the last hour, monitoring what the Hezbollah leader has been saying. Worth just underlining, Hezbollah, of course, a proscribed terrorist group by the UK, US and other Western governments. But what have you picked out so far?
Some of what he says is true, some of it isn't. He said, our command and control system is undamaged. Oh, yeah, right. It's absolutely trashed. I mean, they're in real trouble. They're reeling operationally from this. So they're in no position to fight a war right now, other than the low-level exchange of fire they're doing across the border. But where I think he's right is where he says, bring it on. We welcome, an invasion by the Israeli ground forces. We will receive them here. And actually, the last time Israeli ground forces did go into Lebanon, southern Lebanon, in 2006 in a major offensive, they did get a bloody nose. It ended in a very inconclusive sort of stalemate, essentially. And Israel found Hezbollah to be a much tougher nut to crack than they thought. They had, and I said this in the last hour, but they had pre-positioned a lot of their anti-tank devices. They had some very powerful Russian-built Cornet, for example, anti-tank weapons, mines that were buried under the exact bit in the road where they thought the Israeli tanks would probably try and maneuver. So if Israel does decide that it is going to go full tonto on this and do a full-scale invasion of southern Lebanon, which will be its third major incursion into that country then in recent years, then it could be really quite painful for Israel. It's going to be very painful for Lebanon if that happens. So what this talk was about was not signaling, here's exactly what we're going to do, here's how we're going to fight back. No, it was more of a pep talk. It was rallying the troops. It was first of all paying tribute to those first responders and emergency health workers who had rushed to donate blood and to deal with the wounded. He hailed as heroes all their fighters who've been injured in this, but it was primarily saying, we've taken a big hit here, we don't deny it, but we will be stronger from this. We're going to emerge more resilient. And actually don't underestimate the resilience of organizations, including proscribed terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and others, to be able to bounce back from things like this, because they hide amongst the people. This is war amongst the people.
And he's repeated only again in the last few minutes, there'll be tough retribution and just punishment for the blasts we've seen over the last couple of days. I mean, Hezbollah sit there in Lebanon. Just remind viewers, we've heard comments and condemnation from the Lebanese government in terms of the civilians impacted by those explosions. How much influence, control do they have on the Lebanese government?
Oh, huge. I mean, they are a political party as well. I mean, it's very odd. They are an anomaly in the sense that they are both a political party and very much a part of the fabric of Lebanese political life alongside other parties. Lebanon, of course, is a multi-confessional country. It's a small place where people speak French, Arabic and English. You've got Sunni Muslims, Shia Muslims, and Hezbollah tend to be, well, they are in fact entirely Shia Muslims, following the Shia branch of Islam. And you've got Druze, you've got Christians, Maronite Christians, and so on. You've got all these different elements. And so it's been always a really difficult balancing act to try and keep the place on an even keel. And of course, they had a horrific civil war that lasted from 1975 till 1990. And the fear now is that Lebanon could once again be plunged back into warfare, just as its economy is in a really powerless state.